Chapter 8. Identifying the Purpose of Life. These existential questions wandering around in my mind made me realize that I needed more information to figure out my purpose in life. True to the researcher in me, I interviewed a lot of driven people, watched a lot of inspirational movies and documentaries on the lives of successful people, attended personal development conferences, meditated, and even curiously tried to read various religious scriptures. You name it, and most likely I would have tried it to get closer to finding and/or creating my life's purpose. Although each exposure initially confused me more, but with time I got more clarity. Let me share with you about my first proper exposure towards entrepreneurship and leadership development. It had barely been a month since I landed in Chicago. Through a mutual friend, I received an invitation to attend a major leadership event in the suburbs of Chicago. Coincidentally, it fell on the same day as my birthday. I had a choice to party with my friends, or go to the event and experience something new and potentially life-changing. I chose the latter and got ready to go to the event. I was a bit nervous because I was driving along with a total stranger to the suburbs, but I was excited as well. Once we reached the venue, we entered a large auditorium. We arrived a little late and got the seats furthest at the back. The event began, and a young couple from Trinidad showed up on the stage. They shared about their obstacles and how they overcame them. I don't remember much of the life lessons from the event, but one thing that amazed me the most was to see how an audience of more than 1,000 highly educated professionals, including me and my friends who were PhDs from top universities, were listening to wisdom from a primary school dropout millionaire. One of my friends was busy researching on Google how the speaker could be a scamster because it seemed outrageous that an undereducated individual could be a millionaire. Meanwhile, I was busy listening to the speakers because the values and principles they were sharing aligned with mine. Note: entrepreneurs learn to make independent decisions based on facts. If we keep listening to everyone's opinion, especially on the internet, we won't go anywhere. Later that night, I got a chance to associate with many more successful professionals, and that opened the door for me to explore various possibilities beyond the conventional career. It was in that moment that I realized that I had been on the road driving my car searching for the right path, while those who have found meaningful success in their lives had been flying above in their airplane with the support of GPS and ground control. It was time for me to make a shift from driving to flying. Ultimately, that meant changing my perspective, trajectory, and finding a willing flight school teacher, or a co-pilot, to show me the way. So, I invested about 2 years going through 5 layers of my network to find my mentors, co-pilots, and worked hard to earn their time. I once walked 5 kilometers in the surly snow of Chicago to meet them. You may not have to walk in brutal weather conditions, but you will be tested by various circumstances in life to see what you are made of in your discovery or invention of your purpose in life, and the right mentor to help you through it. A small tip on developing resilience: the way we identify what to do in tough situations is to think how your future self, someone who is 10 times emotionally stronger, would make decisions and act on them. If you are hurting, so is your competitor or your past self. Don't quit and keep pushing your limits. That's where growth happens. About 9 years ago, a simple set of questions helped me get clarity. I am sharing those with you. It might challenge your current thinking as well as give you more clarity about the choices you've unconsciously made. Consider your goals to be the destination you want to travel to, and your career is the vehicle for the journey. What would your answer be to these questions? If you want to go for a vacation, who decides the destination or goals, you or your society? My answer was, me, obviously. What do we decide first, the destination or the vehicle? We decide the destination first, and then choose the vehicle accordingly. Seems logical enough, right? How do we choose the vehicle to travel in? Is it based upon the fact how beautiful the vehicle is, how good we are at driving it, or how many people are taking it, or do we check with Google Maps? Of course, I would use Google Maps and take the most efficient means. We enjoy the ride and change the route if needed when there are obstacles in the way, but the goal of taking the right vehicle is to reach the destination, and not just fall in love with it. I further learned that in general there are two kinds of people and entrepreneurs in this world. Most of the society, 90% or more, who follow the norm, fall in love with their ideas or career because their identity comes from it, and quite often their entire life revolves around it. For example, I was a proud nanotechnology scientist who was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I thought working a lot in my career was what I should be proud of. That is what we are taught growing up. The thing is that because we have chosen the idea or career or vehicle ahead of time, everything else falls around it. For example, when we buy or rent a home, we choose one that is near our office. Family time is whatever is leftover time we have after work, and vacations are dependent on whenever the boss allows us to or what the paycheck determines. If we want to make an impact in our career, we are limited to whatever the system allows us to, yet again. We keep looking to find job satisfaction, but eventually Friday starts looking more exciting than Monday. We then try to numb the pain by escaping to a nearby travel destination on a long weekend, or getting addicted to social media, eating sugary food, binging on a bag of chips, drinking or partying. Some of us start playing video games because we couldn't win in our life. At least we can win in the game and feel good. Eventually, we become a prisoner of our choices. Not every bit of this may apply to you, but if it does in the slightest bit and you want to head towards overcoming it, keep reading. A small minority of society, 10% or less, are produced from the same background of the above 90% population, because the education system is relatively the same across the globe. This minority very soon realizes that the standard success formula doesn't work well for them. They start questioning the system and asking too many why questions. People around them get fed up with them and do their best to shut them down from a young age and well into their adulthood. But they don't listen to the naysayers and eventually do what they feel is right for them. These individuals are often known as those who choose to be out of the ordinary, or extraordinary if you will. In some cases they may be also called nutcases, and I can proudly say that I am one among them. These 10%ers live by a simple philosophy. They realize that they only have one life to live. Unfortunately, reincarnation doesn't count. Yes, the YOLO epidemic just might have been onto something. Just like we design a building before we build it, in the same way, can we design our life before we live it? Of course, this doesn't mean the design is fixed. There is always room for change, but the foundation or values shouldn't change. To design their life, they ask a very simple but profound question. If I have all the money on this earth, like $100 million so that I work only for fun and not for survival, and only 5 years to live, so that I don't postpone my goals in the name of pursuing more degrees or experience, what will I do differently that I cannot do today? When I was asked this question, my brain had an error 404 file not found moment. I had no answer for several months because nobody had ever asked me something like that. We were not taught to think that way growing up. Thankfully, the trend is changing for the better in that regard for the upcoming youngsters to some extent. The problem was that everyone had been asking me what I would become when I grow up, instead of asking me how I would like to live my life. That's precisely why, until the middle of my PhD, the only plan I had was that I would continue to get more degrees and become a professor at the renowned Paba Atomic Research Center and live a chill life. After a lot more thinking and interviewing, I came to a few conclusions. 1. No more degrees or certifications are required. My employer was less of an expert than me in my area of work, and that's why they had hired me. That means if I want to do anything significant, I don't need to be an expert or the most technically gifted person in the room. In fact, most successful people have very little to no formal education, and they hire experts to get things done. Hence, I could also learn to invest my time and energy in a similar direction. 2. Positive impact. After a lot of reading, listening, and associating with my mentors, I realized what my two main purposes of life were. The first being that we are here to gather information to evolve over time while protecting oneself, and the second, to then pay it forward to the next generation when conditions are favorable. I found that a long-lasting and deep level of fulfillment comes when I grow and empower others to do the same. There is an evolutionary reason behind it. In fact, that is the plain and simple reason as to why I am writing this book. Sharing knowledge is one such way to do that. Right from my childhood days, I saw a lot of good talent among my family and friends being wasted because of lack of exposure, mentorship, and funding. Eventually, I would open a technology incubation center so that we can bring worthwhile ideas to a reality and solve problems at grassroots level. 3. Freedom. To accomplish anything significant, we need to be free in every way possible, such as time, money, and mental peace. If we are stuck in a job where our boss is determining everything, including our salary, responsibilities, impact, and schedule, then it becomes very difficult to think freely. Then in turn, it affects every other aspect of our lives in some capacity, and life starts to seem quite unfulfilling and meaningless. For example, you might not be currently thinking about the air you are breathing. And that's why you are able to perform higher-order activities like reading and thinking. Would you be able to do this if you were suffocating? 4. Family. In my opinion, there are two kinds of families: our blood family and chosen family. Our blood family is the family which we are born into, which is parents and siblings. We can't choose them, and we are often responsible for them. The chosen family, however, may or may not be blood-related, but we align with them in terms of our thinking. I initially met all of my chosen family through the various virtual platforms, but I speak with them much more than I speak with my own blood family. They help me become a better person and scale up my impact. 5. Travel. I love exploring new places and learning about their culture. I am fascinated by the pyramids of Egypt, the northern lights of Iceland, waterways of Venice, and the CN Tower of Toronto. I would love to visit those places with my family. Plus, in a way, I am virtually traveling through this book into your mind and exchanging information. It might sound weird to you, but it is true if you think about it. That's what keeps us humble and growing. In Chapter 18, you can find out more to reach out and share your journey. With time, I realized that if I can work towards these outcomes, then my journey would be fulfilling. As you can see, these goals are ongoing or infinite in nature. In other words, there will not be even a single day when I wake up without a purpose that's close to my heart. Once you have a list of your core values, then you can create milestones which align with them. You may use the SMART goal template designed by Doran, Miller, and Cunningham to clarify them further. SMART equal to specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. I would suggest you take some time and think about your own priorities. They don't need to sound impressive to others. They need to be important to you. Don't worry about having a complete picture or how you are going to make them happen right now. Your life purpose may be like mine, or it could be different. The process of solidifying your life's purpose is a never-ending journey, and that's what makes it beautiful. Let your pain push you until your purpose pulls you. The more exposure you get towards possibilities, the greater your horizon becomes. For example, when I was born, I had no clue about the concept of cell phones. As I grew older, I saw a cell phone with a keypad. Eventually, now I have a phone with a touchscreen. Eventually, it might be embedded in my body. It is all up to your imagination and exposure. In other words, I believe that the world is like a shopping mall. You can literally have anything, provided you pay the right price for it. Of course, do remember to prioritize, because having too many unrelated goals can put you at a tough spot. Now that you kind of have an idea of what you want out of your life, let's see how we can make it a reality. How can we lead a peaceful and meaningful life? Chapter summary. Existential crises happen because we lack a clear purpose in life. Entrepreneurs learn to make independent decisions based on facts. If we keep listening to everyone's opinion, especially on the internet, we won't go anywhere. Develop resilience by making decisions about how your future self, who is 10 times emotionally stronger, would, and act on them. Choose the destination and then the vehicle, not the other way around. How would your life change if you had $100 million in your bank account and 5 years to live? You don't need to be an expert when you can hire them. The world is like a shopping mall. You can literally have anything, provided you pay the right price for it.